Pizza delivery drivers describe their creepiest late-night horror stories. This happened a few years ago in San Antonio when I was 24 years old. I was stopped at a red light when someone lightly rear-ended me. They zoomed around me, ran the red light, and tried to drive off. It was made very clear to me that should an accident happen on the clock, we have to call and make a report immediately. So I went after the guy a bit and they pulled into a parking lot just before the highway. It was 11 at night and the parking lot we pulled into was not well lit. I stayed in my car, explained the situation to the operator, and was waiting. This woman got out of the driver's side and a guy got out on the passenger side. They came up to my driver's side door and were talking to me. I popped open my door to talk to the people, but he just started asking me not to call the police. I said sorry, but I have to or I'll lose my job. Straight away he lost his temper. He tried to pull me out of my car to show me there wasn't any damage to my car. I was still on the phone and went to close my door and the girl started crying. So the guy ripped open my driver's side door and lunged at me. He tried to grab my phone, but of course I put up a fight. He got frustrated that I wouldn't hang up or give him my phone, so he punched me in the face. I got angry and kicked him. He hit me again, then managed to grab my phone. He threw it 30 feet across the parking lot and I watched it bounce along the pavement. They got in the truck and took off. I got out of my car and went to get my phone, which was still working and the screen wasn't broken. So I called back and got the same operator. I reported the assault and she dispatched for cops and an ambulance despite my protests. It took 20 minutes of me sitting alone in a parking lot before the ambulance arrived. I was annoyed that a cop hadn't come by yet. My lip was barely busted so they could see why I objected, but offered to stay with me till a cop arrived. Another 15 minutes after that, a cruiser came up so the ambulance left. The guy barely paid attention at all when he took my statement. When I tried to follow up on it, nothing. Could never get in touch with that cop after that, and all my co-workers were so annoyed. This is not only my scariest experience, but also the time I almost got my boyfriend murdered because of a sexual innuendo. I used to work at a Pizza Hut in a pretty rough area of Tucson. Think lots of trailer parks, run-down apartments, and old duplexes. Most people were on drugs and welfare, so tips were very rare. That evening a man had ordered a large meat lover's pizza with extra sausage and another driver took his delivery. Before the driver even came back, the man already called the store complaining his pizza was so spicy that it was inedible, and he would like a new one. While it was likely impossible the pizza was actually spicy and this dude probably just wanted free food, we obliged and handed the driver a new pizza when he returned to take back to the customer. Well, this did not appease him. Over the span of a couple hours the man called 2 more times insisting that the pizza was way too spicy, he couldn't eat it. We kept bringing him new pizzas, but this time we're taking back the old ones for quality checks when really we were just tossing them in the dumpster in hopes that this guy would give up his scam. Finally it got to be about 11 p.m., with 1 hour left until closing. And the man had once again called back saying that he cannot eat his pizza, he needed a new one. At this point we suspected that there's something seriously wrong with this guy, and no one wanted to go out there in the middle of the night to confront him. So the manager informed him that there was unfortunately no way that we could appease him, but if he came down to the store tomorrow he would be happy to issue him a refund. We thought that was the end of it. I was not a closer that night, so I was cashing out at the front register when a beater truck screeched into the parking lot and parked right at the front door. A rather disheveled and overweight man came in holding a pizza. He put the pizza on the counter and informed me he's here for his refund. I called the manager. While I was still up front calculating my cash for the night, the man opened up the box and started talking to me. "Dude, this pizza is so spicy. You gotta try this. It's unreal. Someone must have been putting chili in the sauce or something." I just awkwardly let him know I believed him and moved out of the way so the manager could issue the refund. As this is going on, the man started getting more agitated. He pushed his pizza towards the manager, repeating, "Man, you gotta try this pizza. You gotta believe me. It's so spicy, all the while jabbing his pointer finger into the pizza and mashing it up into a disgusting mess. My manager kept telling him it's fine, he believed him, but the men remained insistent and shoved the pizza towards my manager. Finally the manager let him know, "No, I do not want to eat the pizza. And now I need to ask you to leave." The men then took his pizza and walked out. During all this the waitress, cook, and other 2 drivers had come up to the front to see what all the yelling about spicy pizza was about. The other driver, who I had a bit of a crush on, was standing next to me. Once the men got into his truck and started to pull away, I turned to the driver and say, "Hey, Kevin, wanna try my pizza?" And everyone just burst out laughing. Our laughter was short-lived though, as the truck screeched to a halt and zoomed back into the parking space. Tweakerman stormed back into the store, seriously annoyed and out for blood. He began screaming at my fellow driver, "Do you think something is funny? Are you laughing at me? You think this is funny?" Everyone was dead silent as my fellow driver sputtered along trying to get a word in, but the men wouldn't have it. He climbed onto the counter and started screaming, "I'll teach you to laugh at me. Let's go outside. Right now. I'll teach you." For context, this man had to be about 40 to 50. My now boyfriend was 22 and spindly thin. This was frightening. My manager managed to coerce the men off the counter and got him outside, immediately locking the door. The men screamed at the door for a few seconds before retreating to his truck and pulling away. So we thought that's the end of it, until the truck began circling the building with a gun being pointed out the driver's window. Everyone immediately hit the deck. The waitress started sobbing, and my manager blindly reached up trying to grab the phone off the counter to call 911. Every once in a while we peeked up, and this insane man was still circling. When he finally stopped, everyone crept to the back of the store and peeked out the window. Dude had parked next to the driver cars, waiting for one of us to come out on a delivery. Nope. The dude stuck around for around 15 minutes before taking off. The cops of course didn't show up until like an hour later because it's Tucson. I had to sneak out before they came in hopes I wasn't going to get shot. The next day the men repeatedly called the store to scream at people, claiming we attacked him through crushed red peppers in his eyes. Since we had his address and phone number in the system, cops finally picked him up and we didn't hear from him again. He also got himself a nice place on the do not deliver list. I once got chased like you see in the movies. A little information about me: I'm an 18-year-old male student. To make a little money I part-time deliver pizzas at night and on the weekends. Note that I ride a moped to make deliveries, so my top speed is about 31 miles per hour, so here's the story. It's a warm summer night, sun was almost set, so in some directions visibility was very poor. I knew the street I was on very well, and knew narrow roads lay ahead of me. What I didn't know about was a car coming at me from the opposite direction, at a high speed with its headlights off. I simply didn't see them because of the sun blocking my eyesight. We almost had a top-speed frontal collision there, and with me being on a moped I would have at least suffered from heavy injuries. I managed to dodge the car at the very last moment and didn't hesitate a second to throw the good old middle finger at them for not turning on their headlights in those conditions. I still remember the car. A bright blue Fiat with black rims. So a few days later I spot the exact same car, waiting at a yield sign for me and some other vehicles to pass. I was on my way back to the pizza place and had to make a left into the same street they were on. Time for me to mess around for a bit. Extremely slowly I passed the front end of their car. As I passed the driver's window I noticed it was rolled down a little bit. I peeked inside and saw the biggest, most terrifying looking gym rat wearing the douchiest sunglasses ever, next to him a beautiful blonde girl. So the guy immediately starts swearing and calling me out. I said something that I instantly regret doing so because this was not a guy I wanted to get in a fight with. I'm a pretty tall guy, but this dude, hell no. So I got away from that car as fast as I could, but a few moments later, I kid you not, the Fiat appears in my mirror, the guy now chasing me. I was driving as fast as I could. But with him being in a car he could easily top that. There was a roundabout coming up which I knew I could take on easily while doing full throttle. The car of course could not. This slowed him down for a bit, but it only took the guy a matter of seconds to get at my back end. He was now tailgating me and I was so scared. This wasn't enough for him, and he decided to drive right next to me. Passenger window rolled down, shouting at me to stop so we could talk. Well, I was not going to do that. He was closing in on me, the girl looking at me the whole time, the car and me almost touching sides. At this point, I saw the golden opportunity, a side street on my right. I yanked the brake of the rear tire, and power slid myself into that street. It wasn't my intention to lock the rear wheel, but I can assure you, that looked cool. But this wasn't the end, as the guy saw it coming and slammed the brakes too. Once again, he was right behind me. Suddenly I saw a narrow alley on the left. I did a hard left in and the blue Fiat knew he wouldn't fit. I drove back to the pizza place as fast as I could. Sometimes I still spot that bright blue Fiat, and I hide or quickly turn into another street to avoid it as much as I can. I was a driver for Domino's and our store was closing for the night. I was helping out with the closing duties and had just taken out half of the daily trash to the dumpster. When I came back to grab the rest of the trash, I left the side door ajar so I wouldn't have to deal with the keypad with my hands full. Well, a robber decided that was his opportunity to come in and brandish a gun in our faces. The scariest and most vivid moment for me was staring at the ugly brown tile thinking it would be the last thing I ever saw. I was given a week off, but when I got back I was still a jumpy wreck for months. About 3 weeks after the robbery, I was at a customer's door when he quickly swung his door open and pointed a pistol in my face, almost touching my forehead. Before exclaiming, "It's just a joke, I thought you were my friends," and showed me that it was just an airsoft pistol. I carried my pistol every single day after the robbery. The guy with the airsoft pistol was super lucky my hands were full of pizza. Thank you again for joining us for another video. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe and comment down below and let us know what you would like to hear in the near future. See you all again soon.